Shambho Ramanatha. Welcome to another session of Shiva Purana. In the last session, we saw that the Daityas and the Danavas, the demigods, the deities, and the demons were churning the ocean to get the treasures out of ocean. And we also looked at how the truce was brokered by Lord Shiva himself. Primarily, we deal with Shiva when we talk about Shiva Purana. Naturally, the central figure is going to be Shiva here. Today, we are going to continue with the story. We, I think, stopped when the churning of the ocean itself was about to begin. And I also told you that the Rakshasas, the demons, wanted to the head side of Vasuki, the snake, and the tail side was offered to the Devas. And promptly, the churning starts. As you know, it is supported by the Mount Meru, is supported by Vishnu as a tortoise, and Brahma is sitting on top to balance the whole thing. The churning happens, and it is said that after a long time of churning, there is dense poison or poisonous gases that emerge out. And it is becoming more and more difficult for the Danavas to breathe more than the Devas because they are on the side of the head of Vasuki, who is a very venomous snake. He's the king of snakes. So this hala hala, the poison, emerges out, and it becomes difficult for firstly the Danavas, the Rakshasas to churn. Then it becomes difficult even for the Devas who are on the other side to breathe, because the whole atmosphere is getting vitiated with poisonous gases. Who do you call? Definitely only Shiva has to be called into action. Everybody prays, Har Har Mahadev, Om Namah Shivaya, please come save us. Oh Lord Shiva, please come. Shiva, the benevolent, appears, drinks all of this poison and keeps it in his throat. He doesn't let it flow into his system, earning the name Neelakantha. Neelakantha also means the blue throat one, the one who has a throat which is blue in color. Of course, there's also another variation where Parvati ties a snake around the neck of Shiva so that the poison doesn't descend into his system. What is the esoteric meaning of this? Like I said, the first thing that happens when you start your sadhana, when you start your meditative practices, when the good and bad inside of you starts churning within, the first thing that is produced is poison and venom. Say, why is this happening? The world is bad. I have been a bad person. Things have, always been bad. A lot of poison flows out of your own system. Remember, you have to internalize every teaching of the Shiva Purana. The first thing that comes out in a sadhaka's life as soon as he starts practicing is the madness, the hala hala, the poison, the venom that has collected within from many, many lifetimes. Shiva drinks the poison and assures that now that the poison has come out, It is only a question of time before the ambrosia, the Amrita, also comes out. He gives both the Devas and the Danavas assurance that good things will follow. Just as Shiva gave the assurance that good things will follow, I am telling you, keep your practice, go through Mahakriya, Sanjeevani Kriya, whichever stage you are at. Even though you might feel that all bad things are happening, that you are getting a headache, you're getting pain in your leg, you have digestion problems, you might be running a high temperature, it is only a question of time before you achieve immortality. Because what comes out is what you have carried for many, many lifetimes. Just as Adishesha throws the venom out, your residual energies, which is actually the esoteric representation of Adishesha, which lies within you, these karmic vibrations will come out as hala hala poison. Drink it. Don't let it get into your system. Keep it in your throat. That is also why you might find a lot of people using swear words and bad words during the first stage of their spiritual practices. So Shiva disappears, having consumed the poison and kept it in his throat. The churning continues further. And of course, there are many things which come. I'll only be talking about those important treasures that mean important things for a sadhaka, for a practitioner of spiritual yoga. The first thing that emerges out of this churning of the Milky Way is Kamadhenu. The meaning of Kamadhenu is the one who will grant you all your desires. It appears in the shape of a cow. And the cow symbolizes Kalyana, or the upliftment of the sadhaka, of the practitioner. Of course, every treasure that comes out of the churning of the ocean is significant in the life of a practitioner or the life of a sadhaka. If you continue the churning, if you continue the yoga practices, if you continue upping your kundalini, making it urdhva retaskara, then all your desires, the worldly desires, will start getting fulfilled. Like the Kamadhenu. The Kamadhenu is given to the Devas, it is taken to the heavens, because the Devas have more desires than the Danavas. The Danavas have only one desire: to capture all the lokas, all the worlds, to make the entire universe their ummah, if you want to call it that. That is on a lighter note. After Kamadhenu is gifted to the Devas, the churning further continues. The second treasure that comes out of the ocean is a seven-headed horse. Beautiful. A white seven-headed horse called Uchchashravas. Uchchashrava is given to King Bali, the king of the Rakshasas, the Danavas, because he has the power to control wild horses. The Devas are more vilasis, they are more into pleasure seeking. To tame a wild horse, one needs to have raw machismo, which is agreed by one and all to be in abundance in King Bali. What does it mean to us, sadhakas? Seven-headed horse Remember, this is representing your 7 chakras. Horse which runs, chakras also are in constant motion. You must understand that once you control all your 7 chakras, further upgradation of your own internal self in the Mahakriya, in the Kriya Kundalini Yoga is possible. After Uchchashrava is sent to the Danava kingdom, further churning happens. Then a huge white elephant with 4 tusks and 7 trunks comes out. It is called Airavata, the white elephant. You must understand the 7 trunks, meaning your internal chakras are now connected to the 7 chakras of the Vishwamata. The 4 trunks, the 4 tusks, the 4 tusks are representing the 4 treasures that you must pursue in the worldly life. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, the Purusharthas. Once you unite with the Vishwamata or the Vishwayoni, you will become completely dharmic. And to the external world, they can only see the 4 tusks. Because the tusks are external. Remember, the tusks are more or less ornamental. Maybe they help move big objects. But the real teeth of the elephant lies within the mouth. Similarly, just as Airavata, a sadhaka who has merged with the Vishwayoni, the Vishwamata, shows externally 4 major pursuits: Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha, which I have spoken in several other sessions. But internally, the churning, the practice must go on. Further churning happens, and Kaustuba, which is a very beautiful gemstone, unparalleled in the universe, shining like 1,000 suns, comes out. This is so brilliant that the Danavas and the Devas, the Rakshasas and the Devas both agree that it should be given only to Vishnu, because Lord Vishnu is the only one who shines like 1,000 suns. What does this mean? Further practice of internal Kundalini Yoga makes you self-luminant. You cast no shadow. The internal karmic vibrations are all aligned and you become enlightened. The word enlightened itself contains in it the word light, self-luminant. This is represented by the Kaustuba Mani. It is, you must remember, King Bali, the king of the Danavas, the Rakshasas, who gives it to Vishnu. Even though Vishnu reincarnates and kills all the Rakshasas again and again, but Bali understands the importance of enlightenment, because the Rakshasas are primarily dark creatures. They dwell in the darkness of hell. Who better to know the importance of light the importance of self-illumination, enlightenment, than the king of dark creatures. You must understand that in the Sanatana Hindu Dharma, even when we use words like devil and demons, they are not completely negative. They are dark, but they also have some semblance of dharma. So just to share with you the point that Kaustuba is given to Vishnu, even though Bali Chakravarti knows that in one of the avatars as Vamana, Vishnu is going to push Bali underground. That is for another time, another story. After this, the churning happens again. Further churning produces Chandra, the half moon or the crescent moon. Then there is a whole lot of debate that happens as to who should get the crescent moon. You must remember that all these treasures are being produced because the Danavas and the Devas have co-opted to work together. They're working together. It's a fruit of joint labor. The Danavas argue that they actually don't need it because they can see in the dark. And what is the use of half a moon? And it is not even self-luminant. It borrows its light from the sun. Remember, all these discussions are mentioned in the Puranas much, much before Western culture, Europeans discovered the true nature of heavenly bodies. The Devas also agree that they cannot have something as magnificent as a crescent moon. And it should belong to one of the trinities. Shiva is the obvious choice because Vishnu is right now underwater and Brahma is sitting on top of Mount Meru. It is Shiva who, with his long jeta, with his long hair, who could capture the moon and place it on his forehead. So if you see the representation of Shiva, you will find that there is a crescent moon sitting on his forehead, like a diadem. What does this signify for a sadhaka? The Bimba Pratibimba Vada or the Pratyabhignya Vada of Trika Darshana of our tradition, our parampara, says that we are all reflections of Shiva. It is Shiva looking at the world as a reflection of himself. We are not human beings having divine experiences once in a while, but we are divine Shiva experiencing the life of humans. You are not searching for the truth. You are not searching for the Paratattva Shiva, but it is Shiva himself understanding his own self through you. The Pratibimba, the mirror image of divinity is what you are. Once you have become enlightened, the next stage of involution, which is the next step of evolution, involution going within you, is when you realize that just like the moon reflects the sun and doesn't have its own light, the illumination that was in me is nothing but the Shiva Tattva that is being reflected at this point of time and space as me. So the Chandra, crescent moon, lands up on the forehead of Shiva. Also, with all the poison that is contained within the Shiva consciousness at this point of time, you must understand that he also needs to have a cooling effect. Now, Chandra provides this cooling effect. So it is sage Narada who decides to send Chandra to Kailasa. After this, there is more churning, and a beautiful multicolored tree comes out of the ocean, the Milky Ocean. It is called the Parijata tree. Bali says, I don't want a tree because trees are found in schools, in Gurukulas. And the Danavas don't have intellectual schools, but they have gymnasiums, gyms as we call. So they don't need a tree. The Parijata is sent to the heaven because it represents everything holy. It represents flowering and fruiting. It represents the unending cycle of life and death. Parijata, even today, is considered to be the holiest of flowers, the holiest of trees, and nobody plucks the flowers of Parijata. Parijata has been bestowed a boon that the flowers which have fallen on earth, those flowers will adorn the heads of the deities, of gods. Do you know that only the fallen Parijata is used for worship in our temples and home? What does this mean for us, sadhakas? It means that we must continue the cycle of life and death. We must flower ourselves, bring out the reason for which we have been born. Every one of us has a special purpose in life. After understanding that it is Shiva looking at himself through you, you have descended upon this earth to fulfill a particular purpose, to further the cycle of life and death, so that more people like you can escape this cycle and achieve moksha. Moksha also here means the ability to choose where you want to be born, who you want to be born as, when you want to be born. Next. So all this is represented, and of course the cycle of life must continue. One must get married, have children, become a rishi. That is why in a Sanatana Hindu Dharma, in our own parampara of the NATHA rishis, to which I belong to, it is important to get married. It is important to make children so that the game of life can continue. We do not have very high regards for sannyasa, for being single, right? After this, remember, the objective is to get Amrutha. So the churning continues. 3 beautiful damsels called Apsaras are produced. They are named Rambha, Tilottama, and Ganottama. Again, surprisingly, the Devas get these beautiful damsels. They are dancers. They have all the 64 art forms embedded in them. In fact, they're experts in all the 64 art forms. Very much like the concept of geishas in Japan. Every man would consider himself lucky to spend a few hours with these apsaras. What does this mean for us sadhakas? You just said that we are rishis and we must get married and we must have children. Gurunatha, what is this? Now you are bringing in geishas? You must understand that life also is an art. What is life without expressing of art itself? Dancing, poetry, painting, rangoli, making up a beautiful face with different types of natural makeups, grooming your own self, the art of wearing decent, nice, beautiful clothes, the art of cooking healthy and tasty food. I can go on and on about these 64 art forms. You must realize that life is expressing the best there is. Don't you agree that we must be able to express our best self? And then we must celebrate life. Life is too short to worry, to hate, to live in greed or fear. Life is a celebration. How do you celebrate? You celebrate through art, through creativity. All this is represented here by these three apsaras. Is that the end? No, more churning happens. And a very, I have to tell you, these three apsaras are sent to the heavens because the Danavas, you must look at the dialogue between the Danavas, the Rakshasas, and the Devas. The Danavas are saying we are hard-working people. We don't want art of living. We don't want pleasure. Similar to what the leftist intellectuals say. They think life is full of hard work. Life is only meaningful if you sweat it out. That art, enjoyment, dancing and singing and storytelling and painting and all these things are not necessary. Then what is the difference between us and an animal? An animal works very, very hard for its food. But we have expression, several types of expressions of creativity. This expression of creativity is the Shiva Tattva that flows out of you. You must remember this. Therefore, these three apsaras are gifted to the heavens. Exactly the same way as the leftist intellectuals, Marxists look at this world. Their worldview is that of the Danavas, the Rakshasas. More churning happens. A beautiful, divine lady comes out. She is sitting on a lotus. She's got eyes which resemble lotuses. She's carrying in her hands, she has 4 arms, in 2 hands of the 2 arms, she's carrying lotuses. But both the Danavas and the Devas unitedly see her as mother. There is no lust, there is no pleasure upon looking at her. But they get a very motherly feeling that they're looking at the universal mother. And it is decided that she must be gifted to Lord Vishnu, because he is the preserver of this universe. He's like the acting father of this universe. So Lakshmi becomes the consort of Vishnu. What does this mean for us, sadhakas? After expressing your creativity, the world will grant you Lakshmi. The world will grant you abundance. Whatever that you are seeking for, see at which level you get your desires, worldly desires fulfilled. After you have transcended your desires, is when Lakshmi herself comes like a consort. She's a constant companion. Every action that a Siddha, by this time you're no more a sadhaka, you've become a Siddha, you've become a NATHA. By this time, abundance, success becomes your life partner. You no more have to desire, ask, want, seek. Every action of yours is accompanied by Lakshmi, by abundance. Isn't that the best blessing we can ask of this universe? Isn't that the best blessing we can ask of Lord Shiva? It comes. The more we practice, the more the Shakti descends on us. Just like the Samudra Manthana, each of these treasures come to us. Of course, none of them give away Lakshmi to Vishnu. She has her own free will. Remember, by now, I'm telling you, success, the tattva, the element of success decides to be with you. You don't choose or you don't force anything. Further, because the aim is Amrita, the aim is Moksha, further churning continues. Then another beautiful damsel called Varuni, the temptress with alcohol. She's also called the goddess of alcohol. She comes out. Surprising to know that both the demons, the Rakshasas, the Danavas, as well as the Devas, the deities, reject her. She's sent away to Kali, the deity who governs Kali Yuga. Some people say that we are in Kali Yuga. I myself am experiencing at this time Satya Yuga. But many people who are uninitiated, unpracticing, non-meditating people on this earth right now in 2023 might be experiencing Kali Yuga. Here is where the dance of Varuni is happening in its full glory. It is said that good people, Sajjana, shun her, and pleasure-seeking people, lower people, are attracted to her. That is why you find rowdies, history cheaters, murderers, thieves in the bars, drinking away their life into misery. This is where Varuni resides. Now you might ask, why is Varuni coming here? After so much of sadhana, what does it mean to us? In fact, there is a Zen Japanese story, which I will make a separate video and tell you that after enlightenment, sometimes the enlightened master starts drinking again just to get indulged back into this world. Well, the world doesn't make sense at such elevated heights where you're the only person on top of the hill and the rest of the mankind, the rest of the consciousness is like a valley. Many siddhas, many masters lose the script of life at this stage and fall into pleasure-seeking lifestyle. However, here we must take symbolic help from the story of Samudra Manthana and continue the churning, continue the constant practice of inner Shaktis and Kundalini, so that the Vishwamata also descends completely within the Siddha and unite with the Shiva that already exists in you, therefore becoming a beautiful union of Shiva and Shakti. Further churning has to happen. Lo and behold, Dhanvantari comes out with Amrita. Finally, the elixir of immortality, the Amrita, is here. Everybody tries to snatch it now. The discipline that they maintained for all these long eons and beyond human time, actually, we cannot even calculate how long they churned the ocean. Everything is lost. They're all trying to snatch it. Dhanvantari tries to escape with the pot of Amrita, the pot of ambrosia, the elixir of immortality. What happens? We'll see in the next season. Let's have a quick prayer and end this session. Shri Shambho Ramanatha, Shri Shambho Ramanatha, Dhyana Moolam Gurur Murtihi, Puja Moolam Gurur Padam, Mantra Moolam Gurur Vakyam, Moksha Moolam Gurur Krupa, Adesh, Adesh, Alak, Adesh. We will end today. I will take your questions